Ish, my friend, I know you. I really do. Maybe right now, as you're listening to my voice, there's this heavy blanket wrapped around your heart, isn't there? A kind of weariness that seeps into your bones, making even the simplest things feel like climbing a mountain. It's that feeling, when you've poured your whole self into something, a dream, a relationship, a ministry, a project at work, and it just didn't work out the way you hoped. Or maybe it did work, but the joy, that deep, soul-satisfying joy, it just didn't last. It faded like a beautiful sunset, leaving you in the quiet, echoing darkness. I know that feeling of looking around, seeing others celebrating their victories, and a bitter little whisper starts in your ear. Why not me? Why does it always feel like I'm fighting against the current? You try to smile, you try to keep a brave face, but inside it feels like a little piece of you is crumbling, doesn't it? That deep sigh that escapes you when you think no one is listening. That moment when you just want to curl up and disappear from the world because the weight of disappointment, the sting of discouragement, it's just too much. You start to question everything, don't you? Your purpose, your calling, your very worth. You wonder if God even sees you, if He cares about the specific ache in your chest. You feel like you're doing everything right, praying, serving, believing, but the breakthrough, it feels so far away, like a shimmering mirage in the desert. You're tired of being strong, tired of pretending, tired of the endless struggle. You just want to feel that pure, unadulterated joy again, the kind that bubbles up from deep within, regardless of what's happening around you. My friend, listen. I've been there. Oh, have I been there. That deep sigh, I've exhaled it so many times I thought my lungs would give out. That crumbling feeling, my heart has known it intimately. Let me tell you what happened to me, because I've been where you are, truly. I remember it like it was yesterday, though it feels like a lifetime ago. I had this vision, this beautiful, vibrant dream that God had clearly placed in my heart. It was about creating a safe space, a community where young women especially could come and find healing, mentorship, and a deep, authentic connection with Christ. I poured everything into it, my time, my savings, my sleep, my very soul. I prayed, I fasted, I networked, I wrote proposals, I organized events. I felt so sure, so absolutely certain that this was it. This was my moment, God's moment for me to step into something truly significant. For months I was on fire, filled with an almost irrational joy, even amidst the challenges. I saw the struggles as part of the journey, the tests of faith, the refining fire. I quoted scriptures, I encouraged others, I walked with a bounce in my step. And then the rejections started rolling in, one after another. Funding applications denied, key partners pulling out at the last minute, venues falling through. People I trusted, people I thought were on my team, suddenly became distant, even critical. Each no felt like a physical blow, a little pinprick deflating a balloon of my hope. I started to question if I had heard God correctly at all. Was it just my own ambition disguised as a divine calling? Was I foolish? Was I arrogant to think I could achieve something so grand? The joy, my friend, that effervescent, unwavering joy I had felt, it began to leak away, slowly at first, then in a gush. I remember one specific evening, after receiving yet another rejection email, a particularly harsh one. I just sat there, staring at the screen. The words blurred. My chest felt tight, like a fist was squeezing my lungs. The vibrant dream, which had been so real, so tangible, suddenly felt like a childish fantasy, a silly little thing I had made up in my head. The weight of it all, the sheer exhaustion from fighting, from hoping, from believing, it just crushed me. I felt a profound sense of failure, not just in the project, but as a person, as a child of God. The enemy's whispers grew louder than ever, telling me I wasn't good enough, I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't anything enough. I felt utterly alone in that moment, in that quiet, dimly lit room, with the ghost of a dream mocking me from the shadows. The tears just started to flow, hot and silent, a torrent of disappointment and self-doubt. My friend, I felt like my heart was breaking into 1,000 tiny pieces, and I didn't know how to pick them up. That night, the joy I thought I had, the joy I had preached about, felt like a cruel joke. That night was just the beginning of a truly dark season for me. The discouragement wasn't just a passing cloud. It settled in like a thick, suffocating fog, clinging to everything. I found myself going through the motions, waking up, doing what needed to be done, but it was like a robot was inhabiting my body. My spirit, my friend, felt utterly depleted. The vibrant colors of life seemed to fade to a dull gray. I'd try to pray, but the words would catch in my throat, or they'd feel hollow, empty. It was hard to even believe that God was listening, let alone caring about my broken little dream. I remember lying in bed, staring at the ceiling for hours, the silence of the night amplifying the chaos in my mind. Every negative comment, every setback, every failed attempt replayed itself like a broken record. And I know this sounds familiar to you, doesn't it? That ache in your chest, that tightness in your throat when you try to swallow the lump of disappointment. I know that ache too, my friend. It's a deep, wearying kind of pain that gnaws at your insides. I started avoiding people, especially those who were succeeding, because their joy, their effortless progress, it just highlighted my own perceived failure. It felt like everyone else was dancing while I was stuck in a slow, painful waltz with grief. I'd nod and smile when someone asked how things were going, but inside, I was screaming. I was screaming at the unfairness, at the confusion, at God himself sometimes, honestly. I'd think, Lord, I gave you everything. I trusted you. Where are you in all this mess? The physical toll was immense, too. I lost my appetite, or I'd eat too much, trying to numb the pain. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford, my mind racing with what-ifs and if-onlys. My body felt heavy, like I was carrying an invisible burden, a sackcloth of sorrow, And the worst part, the very worst part, was the spiritual battle. I felt so guilty for feeling this way. As a Christian, wasn't I supposed to be joyful always? Didn't the Bible say, "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice," Philippians 4:4. How could I rejoice when my heart felt like a desert? I questioned my faith, my salvation, even my calling as a follower of Christ. It felt like I was failing at the most basic tenets of my belief. I'd try to read my Bible, but the words seemed to mock me. Sorrowful yet always rejoicing, 2 Corinthians 6:10. How was that even possible? It felt like an impossible standard, a cruel taunt when all I felt was sorrow. I remember one morning, I just broke down completely. I was in my kitchen, making tea, and a memory of a past joy, a simple, carefree moment, just flooded my mind. And the contrast, the stark difference between that memory and my current despair, it was overwhelming. I sank to the floor, tea forgotten, and just wept. Not those silent tears from before, but gut-wrenching sobs that shook my whole body. I cried out to God, not in prayer, but in raw, unfiltered anguish. Why, Lord? Why this pain? Why this struggle? Why this feeling of being utterly abandoned? I felt like the prophet Jeremiah pouring out his lament. And you, my friend, maybe you've had those moments too, haven't you? Those moments when the mask slips and the raw, vulnerable you just collapses. Maybe you've questioned God's love, his presence, his plan.
Maybe you've felt that deep spiritual loneliness, even when surrounded by fellow believers. It's a heavy cross to bear, this feeling of spiritual inadequacy amidst personal pain. I remember thinking about those verses that talk about suffering, like 1 Peter 1:6-7. In all this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. I'd read it and it felt so distant. How could I greatly rejoice when I was suffering grief in all kinds of trials? It felt like the joy was a destination I could never reach, a prize forever out of my grasp. The truth is, my friend, sometimes discouragement isn't just a fleeting emotion. It's a deep-seated spiritual attack, trying to steal your hope, trying to convince you that God has forgotten you. It tries to make you forget that even when you're outwardly wasting away, inwardly you're being renewed day by day. 2 Corinthians 4:16. But in that deep valley, in that pit of despair, something began to stir. A tiny, almost imperceptible whisper of hope, like a fragile seedling pushing through cracked earth. It wasn't a sudden, dramatic lightning bolt, but a gentle, persistent tug on my spirit, pulling me towards something beyond my current pain.
Ish, my friend, that whisper, that gentle tug, it was God. He wasn't absent. He was just waiting for me to be utterly broken, utterly surrendered, for me to stop trying to fix it all myself. It was in that moment of complete collapse that I finally heard him. It wasn't an audible voice, but a deep knowing, a profound peace that slowly, gently began to settle over my shattered spirit. It was like he was saying, "My child, I know you are sorrowful, but your sorrow will be turned into joy, a joy no one can take from you." John 16:20-22. And it wasn't an instant fix, no. It was a process, a slow unfolding. But that day, after those gut-wrenching sobs, I felt a shift. I picked myself up, and for the first time in weeks, I opened my Bible not to find answers or to feel guilty, but just to be with God. And as I read, slowly, reverently, a verse just leapt off the page and wrapped itself around my heart like a warm embrace. "In the multitude of my anxieties within me, your comforts delight my soul." Psalm 94:19. Ish, my friend, that was it. It wasn't about my ability to rejoice in the storm, but about his ability to comfort my soul in the multitude of my anxieties. It wasn't about pretending the pain wasn't there, but about allowing his comfort to delight my soul despite the pain. It was a revelation. Suddenly, I understood that true joy wasn't the absence of sorrow or discouragement, but the profound, unshakable assurance of God's presence through it all. It's like when the Bible says, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy." Psalm 126:5-6. We sow the tears, yes, but He brings the harvest of joy. He reminded me that even when my dreams felt like they were perishing, my faith, refined by fire, was of greater worth than gold. 1 Peter 1:6-7. He showed me that the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, and for joy over it, a man sells all he has and buys that field. Matthew 13:44. My joy wasn't in the success of my project, but in the treasure of knowing him, of having my name written in heaven. Luke 10:20. That was the real treasure, the eternal, unshakable joy. It was a joy that didn't depend on circumstances, a joy that could exist even when everything else felt like it was falling apart, a joy that made my heart sing his praises even when my life felt like a wail. Psalm 30:11-12. He put a new song in my mouth, praise to our God, so many would see it and trust in the Lord. Psalm 43. And my friend, God is coming for you too. Don't lose hope, please.
He sees every tear, hears every sigh, knows every single strand of hair on your head, Matthew 10:29-31. You are of more value than many sparrows, my dear one. He is not distant. He is intimately acquainted with your sorrow. He is the God of hope, and He wants to fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit, Romans 15:13. He wants to turn your wailing into dancing, to remove your sackcloth and clothe you with joy, Psalm 30:11. He has been your help, and in the shadow of His wings you will rejoice, Psalm 63:7. This suffering, this discouragement, it's not for nothing, my friend. It's producing perseverance, character, and hope. And this hope will not put you to shame, because God's love has been poured out into your heart, Romans 5:3-5. He puts more joy in our hearts than when their grain and new wine abound, Psalm 4:7. The joy isn't about the outward circumstances, it's about the inward renewal He provides day by day, even when we feel like we are wasting away, 2 Corinthians 4:16. I learned to be content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want, because true contentment and joy comes from Him, Philippians 4:11-12. He rejoices over one sinner who repents more than 99 righteous persons, Luke 15:7, which means He rejoices over you, my friend, when you turn to Him in your brokenness. You are not alone in this, not at all. We are a family here, a community of believers who understand, who have walked through similar valleys. If this touched you, if you felt a flicker of hope, or if you just want to let us know you're struggling, please share your story in the comments below. We want to pray with you, to lift you up, to remind you that you are seen, you are loved, and your joy is coming. It's not a fleeting emotion. It's a deep, abiding strength that rises above any discouragement because it comes from Him. My friend, remember this. True joy isn't the absence of pain, but the unwavering presence of God in every single moment of your life. He is turning your sorrow into a dance, and your heart will sing His praises forever. My friend, be honest with us today. Can you share a specific moment, a season, or even just a quiet whisper where you felt true discouragement trying to take root, but then the unshakable joy of the Lord broke through and lifted you? If you feel comfortable, we're here for you to share that testimony. It might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And for anyone silently reading, perhaps feeling discouraged right now, would you take a moment, my friend, to speak a word of life or prayer over someone else, or simply offer a heart emoji to let them know they're seen and loved? We're a family here, and we want to lift each other up. In this suffering, this discouragement, it's not for nothing, my friend. It's producing perseverance, character, and hope. And this hope will not put you to shame, because God's love has been poured out into your heart, Romans 5:3-5. He puts more joy in our hearts than when their grain and new wine abound, Psalm 4:7. The joy isn't about the outward circumstances, it's about the inward renewal He provides day by day, even when we feel like we are wasting away, 2 Corinthians 4:16. I learned to be content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want, because true contentment and joy comes from Him. He rejoices over one sinner who repents more than 99 righteous persons, Luke 15:7, which means He rejoices over you, my friend, when you turn to Him in your brokenness. You are not alone in this, not at all. We are a family here, a community of believers who understand, who have walked through similar valleys. If this touched you, if you felt a flicker of hope, or if you just want to let us know you're struggling, please share your story in the comments below. We want to pray with you, to lift you up, to remind you that you are seen, you are loved, and your joy is coming. It's not a fleeting emotion. It's a deep, abiding strength that rises above any discouragement because it comes from Him.